the sequence of reliability, the first thing when we talk about with collaborative high reliability, there's a taxonomy. We first define it. We have to define it to know what to do. So we define it. Then, as far as the sequence of reliability, we first have to see and understand the risk. If I'm looking at a process and I don't see that and I don't understand that risk, then how can I truly mitigate it? I have to see and understand the risk first. If organizations, I think it was Carrie brought up the Vanderbilt piece. Let's look back at that. If the organization, did they see and understand the risk of a nurse being able to obtain a paralytic? That's what I'm talking about, seeing and understanding risk. We have to see and understand the risk first. I think that's really important that we do that. And that's why in this process that you have to see and understand that risk first. Are we willing to take that risk? So that's one of the first steps in this. So going back a little bit, while well-intentioned, we would argue that the lack of consistent definitions and standards, as well as the absence of guidance for how to systematically implement, monitor, measure, or improve an organization's just culture and high reliability efforts, has actually led to more confusion than it has clarity. The lack of clarity or a systematic approach, the lack of systematic approach to implementing high reliability and just culture programs, and the lack of consistent taxonomy or method has led to the concepts of high reliability and just culture becoming yet another flavor of the month or buzzword, yielding little in the way of sustained value. So we jump in, we try to do this, but really the sustainment of it has been an issue. So part of the reason that organizations have a difficulty implementing high reliability and just culture programs has been the approach. They send a few people off to whatever training it may be, high reliability or just culture training for a couple of days, 3 days. And then that training typically teaches concepts, but does it require validation or understanding the concepts? Nor is there any systematic evidence-based, which is another topic, evidence-based approaches or methods for implementing a just culture or high reliability. Are they provided? One and done training, where we go in for a couple of days, we understand, but then can those individuals really, are they trained to be able to go back to implement that process into an entire organization? So the lack of a roadmap for implementing high reliability and just culture programs and an array of other aligned activities haven't yet yielded outcomes from one industry to the next.
Model. We don't say a system first approach, because sometimes if you start with the system and you're skipping over the first step, which is to see and understand the risk. Just because you're system focused doesn't mean you're going to get optimal outcomes if you don't see and understand the risk. So a clear example I think we can all relate to is the pandemic, the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic. We applied a number of system interventions like social distancing, vaccinations, masking, all of those things that would be part of a larger system. And then, of course, you have the behavioral component, people who may not want to be vaccinated or people who won't social distance. But before you get to that, the key to getting reliable outcomes is step one, which is, do we see and understand the nature of the SARS-CoV-2 virus? And we didn't. The world mistakenly believed it would be transmitted similar to SARS, which it wasn't. We didn't recognize the prevalence of droplets and airborne particles that could be transmitted. So the system approach didn't work. And we all know we had behavioral challenges, but seeing and understanding is the essential pivotal first step. If we can't see and understand the nature of the risk, nothing we do with our systems, nothing we do with our people is going to get us to those optimal outcomes. So